Hi everyone, welcome. My name is Katrina. I'm a fourth year social work student at Ryerson University, and I'm currently completing my placement practicum with the Organization for a Safer Space. And today we'll be talking about behavioral activation. So what is behavioral activation? It is primarily used to help folks experiencing depression. Behavioral activation looks at depression as a cycle and utilizes this technique to break that cycle. So what is the cycle that I'm talking about? When one is depressed, they become less active. This leads to less rewards and less positive outcomes. Less rewards and positive outcomes lowers your overall mood. This creates the cycle for depression. So the key to understanding this technique is to understand how your activity relates to your mood. When you feel good, you spend more time with loved ones and friends. You participate in activities that make you feel good. But when you feel depressed, you spend less time with loved ones and friends and participate less in activities that provide you with pleasure and feeling good. So how do you practice behavioral activation? It's all about making your life meaningful. So the first step is to understand and learn the cycle of inactivity, which leads to depression, which leads to more inactivity, which is what we discussed in one of the first few slides. Next, you want to do activity monitoring. Then review your activity monitoring, understand your values, and simple activation. And we're going to go through each step. So the first is activity monitoring. The first step is to monitor your activity and mood daily. Keep track using the worksheet below, or feel free to make your own. Below I've linked it there that you can print out, or again, write one for yourself. Ensure that you are filling it out as frequently as possible. Remember to record even the smallest activities that may not seem as important to you. Track your mood as well with each activity, rating it from 0 to 10. 0 being that you feel depressed, and 10 being that you feel very good. Then you want to review your activity monitoring. So about after a week of recording your activity and mood, you can begin to review it. This should be enough time for you to notice a pattern. Ask yourself, which activities put you in the highest and best mood? Which activities put you in the lowest mood? What did you notice about your relationship between your mood and your activity levels? Now, after reviewing this, use the chart on the next slide. You want to review your activity monitoring chart. You want to review your activity monitoring using the chart. So again, you can write it out on a piece of paper. It's just 2 columns. So one is list out the activities that made you feel good. List them below. Then list the activities that made you feel bad. And again, list them below as well. It can be in point form, nothing too fancy, just list the activities there. Then you want to talk about your values. So the key to behavioral activation is to help you achieve a more meaningful life, which correlates to your values. It's important to understand which values are important to you. For example, family, friendships, career, school, education, so many things. Take some time to list what your values are. Think about what's most important to you or which ones are more important to you, and how successful you've been in achieving them so far. Feel free again to write them down on a piece of paper so you have some more concrete to see them. And then last step is simple activation. This step is all about staying active. You now know and understand the importance of activity and mood. Some goals, also known as activation targets, that you'd like to achieve in your activities. So now we're going to talk about the activation targets, and I've split them up into 3 categories here. You can set activation targets based on your values. So for an example, if family is a high value for you, set time or make plans to hang out and spend time with your family. You want to also make sure that you're hitting the basics. While you plan your activation targets, make sure to plan your basic activities as well. For an example, brushing your teeth, going grocery store shopping, making the bed, doing some chores to clean up around the house, stuff like that. And lastly, use an activity menu. So I've included a picture in the next slide that'll show you some examples. So an activity menu, this is a picture that I took from Psychology Tool, and it basically just gives you some ideas of things that you can do when you're out of ideas on your own. It lists out different categories here, from self-care to being active, physically active, to working your mind, being creative, cleaning, getting involved with nature, and it lists out different activities that you can plan out for yourself or participate in throughout the week as well. And lastly, let's talk about some tips. Even when you don't feel like doing anything, do something anyways. We now know that the less active you are, the lower your mood becomes. So even if you don't feel like doing something, still do something to keep your mind and keep yourself active. Give yourself rewards. And lastly, break larger activities into smaller activities to make them more accomplishable. Now, thank you all for listening. For resources, I've linked Psychology Tools, which is where I got a lot of my information from for behavioral activation. If you would like to see a little bit more, definitely check them out. Lots of really great resources and information on there as well. Bye, everyone. Thank you for listening again.